Hi there. I apologize for the vibration of the video. I've been asked by a couple of people to talk about climate change. Today I want to talk about three things as it pertains to climate change. First, is climate change a problem? Second, if it's a problem, is it one that we can fix? And third, what some of the potential solutions or fixes are. First, is it a problem? And, well, more importantly, is it a problem to which we are contributing or that we are causing? A scientific consensus on are humans contributing to climate change? The answer is a definitive yes. Now, before you get too excited about that, if you were to get a bunch of scientists together and ask them, does the weight of objects in a car affect its mileage? The answer is a definitive yes. So if you therefore say, son, you can't bring your teddy bear with you on this next trip because science has said that having your teddy bear in our car is going to hurt our gas mileage. So the question is, the climate is in fact changing. It's always changing. Are humans contributing to it? Yes. Is their contribution significant? Well, it's at that point that the consensus falls apart. Yes, we're having an influence. We don't have any idea how big of an influence we're having. Are humans contributing to it? Absolutely. Is their contribution significant? The jury's out. But for the rest of this conversation, let's go with yes. Let's say that it is something that we want to fix. So one thing that politicians have been saying lately is they've been saying we have 12 years to turn this problem around. I don't know what they mean by that. I don't know if that means we need to be completely off grid. I don't know if that means we need to be fossil fuel independent. As far as I know, when they say we need to turn it around, they're talking about the 6% of the world's population that lives in the United States. And honestly, even though the U.S. per capita uses a disproportionate amount of power, our per capita usage has been declining for decades. Whereas China, India, Brazil, Indonesia, Nigeria, are all using more, and they're looking for ways to use more. They're trying to put more production on the grid. Well, why is that? Well, the reason is, unfortunately, power consumption is directly tied to productivity and production. There's a very strong correlation between GDP and energy consumption. So the hard question isn't whether we should fix the climate. The hard question is it more important to fix the climate or to bring third world countries out of poverty? That's the question. The biggest delta right now is, from China, frankly. China has said that they passed up the U.S. as the world's leading energy consumer several years ago, and they said they're not even planning to plateau until 2030. Honestly, what we do in the U.S. is going to be dwarfed by what China does. The dilemma is choosing between fix the planet or leave the world in poverty, or allow the rest of the world to generate more power and come out of poverty. That's the hard question. Is it something that we can fix? By we, the United States, no, and it's not. And is it something that we can fix in the next 12 years? That's just silliness. So how do you move the needle? There's two ways to do it. One of them is reduce consumption, and I mean massively reduce consumption. We have, 5-ish, let's say 5 times as many people on the planet as we did 100 years ago. Do we want to not have manufactured stuff? Do you only want to have stuff that you can manufacture with your own hands? Or are we okay with having manufactured the way that we have it right now? Okay, so now let's look at supply side. So there's a lot of talk about solar, and in fact, there's a feel-good assumption that we ought to take everything solar. As we discussed a second ago, manufacturing and production take energy. Where are you going to get the energy that you're going to use to create solar? Because this is not a small solar project. If you want to replace fossil fuels with solar, you need incredible amounts of solar. You're going to have manufacturing like you have never seen before. I was reading it takes a certain amount of energy to make a solar panel, and it takes the solar panel about 4 years to give that energy back. So, If we wanted to have the U.S. entirely solar powered within 1 year, that means that we would have to use 4 times as much energy as we use right now. Okay? If we're going to have it in 4 years, that means we need to double the amount of energy we're using right now. We would have to build more fossil fuel so that we would have enough power to build the solar. It's not going to happen. The other problem is that solar only works during the daytime. Because solar only works during the daytime, you need massive battery storage. If any of you have worked in IT, a lot of IT data centers have huge battery banks backing them up. And what's the life of a battery? About 3 years of a UPS backup. So if you're putting solar on battery backup, I mean, not only do you need insane amounts of solar, but you need insane amounts of battery, and you have to replace the battery supply every 3 years. I'm sorry, that's just not a sustainable approach. I was watching the Democrat town hall meeting the other day, and Cory Booker made a statement that I agree with. He said, if we're going to do this, we have to do nuclear. And he's 100% correct. Nuclear is the best option, by far. What we're told is we have 12 years to turn things around, or basically life as we know it on Earth will end. Bad things will happen. Life as we know it will end. There will be massive cataclysmic floods, loss of human life. It's an absolute 5-alarm emergency. So if we were to use an analogy, we would say, behind that door, you have a man-eating tiger. The tiger's coming out in a little bit, and he will kill you. You have another door. Behind door number 2, you can get out. You can get away from the tiger. But there's a problem. Lurking behind door number 2 is a clown who likes to throw water balloons. And that's nuclear. It's a way out. You will get away from the tiger. But there's a cost. You're going to have to figure out what to do with the spent uranium. Once in a while, you have an earthquake that causes a problem. Yes, those are real problems. That's as real as a clown hitting you in your new suit with a water balloon. It just really sucks, you know? But when you're comparing that to the man-eating tiger, which is what they're making global warming out to be, if you even pause to think about how you answer that question, then you don't really believe there's a man-eating tiger. If you're talking about the clown, if you're talking about the guy throwing balloons, if you're talking about the potential of once every 20 years there being nuclear trouble, if you're bringing those up, then you don't know or don't understand or don't believe the threat that they're making climate change out to be. If climate change is something that can be solved by humans, if we want to absolve ourselves of potential responsibility for causing something bad, and we really think we have 10 years, if we don't go nuclear, then we're just pretending. It's just a money mechanism to get money from point A to point B. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that's how the politicians are treating it. If they were serious about it, and this is why, like Cory Booker said, you have to go nuclear. Solar does not work. Solar will not get you there. Solar cannot get you there. Anyway, those are some thoughts. Hopefully those are helpful. Comments welcome. These are issues you can't not afford to think about, to not think about. You want to forward this to somebody because you think they'll benefit, feel free. And thanks for watching.